Okay, fine.
Must be fun going through all this budget stuff for these guys.
Just gotta be careful what you say when we record, that's all.
How sensitive is that recording?
It's pretty sensitive. The problem it runs into is coughing and we got rid of the squeaky chairs, so. Yeah, the squeaky chairs were a problem, and if someone's really coughing a lot, it overrides it.
Karen,
But, yes, ma'am, sir.
what?
What?
What is that about?
That is because it all didn't fit in one folder. That's the fire department, payroll.
Okay, so there's nothing to sign here, right?
Right, it's all included in that great big one, but it's number 2 of 3 because it didn't fit into the folder.
Okay. It's 7 p.m., October 30th. I'll bring the Board of Selectmen's meeting to order, starting with a roll call from my right. Paul Sanderson.
Chester Duraki.
Ron Morgan.
Jim Ralston.
Chip Huzzy.
Okay, we have a quorum and the meeting is being recorded. First item on the agenda is an appointment with Mr. Leonard Schwab, who is here to tell us about the return of the Historical Society,
Right.
which I'm excited about.
Good.
I like that.
My co-founder, Karen Mason, is unable to be here tonight. She's actually between trips and hustling with a lot of stuff to do, but she had planned to come. First of all, I wanted to let you know what we're going to call the organization. It's going to be called the Greenland Historical Society, Roman numeral 2. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
No Inc., no LLC, nothing like that. It's going to be an unincorporated 501c3. All we have to do now is file an IRS form SS4. I guess I need somebody to sign it. Karen didn't want to, I guess, because it's really not a town function. It's more of a society function. It's sort of like the vets or the women's group. It's not government related. So I'm going to go ahead and sign that and send that on in. Once we get the letter of agreement from the IRS that we are in fact a verified nonprofit, then we can go after the 501c3 status.
Okay.
Great.
Paul, how would this interface with the town?
It really doesn't. It's possible that we might have an appropriation from town meeting for a particular purpose or something like that, but it's a private organization, and so
Okay.
run by individuals. I would just say, when you do that, be careful. No good deed goes unpunished, and tax returns are due.
Well, the banker that I deal with has made it very clear, don't come to me looking to open an account until you get your SS4 turned in and the 501c3
Get your EI
verified.
number back. And
Right. So we've got things to do. In the meanwhile, we did have our first meeting on the 12th of October. Speaker was Paul Hughes. Had attendance of 35, including 2 fourth graders.
Mm-hmm.
I was really pleased to see that. So it's going along pretty well. We only did collect $50 in dues at $10 a head, so we are looking for any other willing and people willing and wanting to be a member. Send a check in, or me or Karen. As I say, Karen's on travel. We did publish our first newsletter. I would have it for you tonight, except my computer bit the dust. A combination of Kaspersky and Google got me, so it's in the shop.
You're not blaming this on the storm, then?
No.
That'd be a good answer, but no.
Like so many things on my car, it always fails on a Friday evening or a Saturday morning, and that's exactly what happened here. So it's in the shop today. We are going to be meeting on the 6th of November in this room with a professional archivist, Susan Kinstead from the Athenaeum. There is a large map of some sort rolled up in the closet here.
6th of November, it's booked.
they're doing it in the
Morning,
morning.
nine
morning, yeah.
Yeah. Right, we should be out of here in an hour or two. And if Susan Kinstead doesn't bring a good quality camera, one of our volunteers,
Be careful about that.
we started unrolling it a few days ago, and it's so decrepit, so old, we stopped at about 6 inches because small pieces were falling off. So we want to take our time, have a professional here. She's not a conservator, she's an archivist, but I think she knows how to handle stuff like this.
What is this?
We don't know.
We don't know, and we have one
no
on the roll
idea.
all the way.
Property in Greenland, something.
Historical Society.
Maps of Blackbeard's treasure.
I'm wondering if it's the original of something like one of these other maps that, that's the only old map that I see on the wall.
That's not really old.
This one isn't that old. That was
Yeah.
colored by Bruce Dearborn.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I'm guessing it's probably a Rockingham County wall map. And
Yeah.
what's great about them is they show names of houses and where the houses were.
It's pretty cool. We don't know what's
So,
in there yet.
one of our volunteers, who will become a member when he pays his dues, John Hurdle, who works at the Passport Center. His mother was Betty Hurdle, who taught 3rd grade here. And he's coming to the 6th of November meeting at 9 a.m. with a digital SLR with a wide-angle lens. So if Susan doesn't have a camera of good quality, we should be able to get some shots and have them sent to you through the town email.
Wonderful.
So we'll know what's on that after the 6th. We're resource poor at this point in time, but we have another person in town, a businessman by the name of Steve Leonard. He runs a company over here in Portsmouth. He's a buyer's representative or something like that. He acts as an agent on behalf of someone who's building something usually. And he's very interested in what we're doing. He has a high-end Xerox document processor, one of these things that will copy, will scan, will send things out by email, take things in. It does everything. You can scan it, either single pages or multiple pages. And when you're done, you can give it a PDF designation or a JPEG page by page or whatever. And we're pretty sure we want to do something like 100 pages at a time. I'll get to the document in a second. And then give it a PDF designation, because we, again, through Karen Mason, we have software that can modify it. There are some items in this document. Well, the document I'm speaking of is the town history that Paul Hughes wrote. It's called Greenland, New Hampshire, a Pleasant and Abiding Place. It's 2,646 pages.
Single-spaced typewriter.
No, it is double-spaced.
Oh, this one's
Double-spaced,
double-spaced, okay.
one-sided. And they are in plastic sleeves in 9 fat 3-ring binders over in the library. And to take one of them out, which we did for the first meeting of the Historical Society, we practically had to sign our names in blood with Denise. It's the only copy that exists.
Yeah.
Apparently, Paul Hughes doesn't even have a copy. So one of the things I'm going to explore is, as we scan it, can we also copy it in one step? This machine hopefully is good enough, smart enough to do that. So we can at least get a second copy for Paul or for insurance purposes or whatever. But being dependent on one copy that he and his father wrote over how many years? I mean, probably 25, 30 years. And I'd hate to see anything happen to that, obviously, as Denise feels the same way. So we're going to try to get that done sometime in the next 2 weeks. And as a test run, we'll probably do the timeline document. I don't know if you've seen that. It's about 10 pages long. Starts in 1641 or something like that. And year by year by year, single-spaced, it says what were the chief things, usually one chief thing that happened that year. I think it's more than 10 pages. But what I'd like to do is scan that first, clean that up through a PDF, and then give that a designation called Timeline of Greenland, New Hampshire History. Or better name, if anybody has a better name to offer, it seems to be the logical thing. That would be the first item that would go on our website, which we don't have yet. The second item would be this 2,646 page document, which when it's digitized, and it's gonna get scrunched way down, so it's not gonna be anywhere near that long. But the beauty of that is, if someone wanted to know a certain event and they know it's in that history, and they don't know where it is, there's no table of contents.
Right,
They're
you
gonna
can then
have to
search it by
read
word.
And then digitization is so important in history.
Right, PDF will allow each word to be indexed.
Right, and it's gonna be a searchable PDF when we get it all structured.
Yeah.
Karen Mason, who knows more about that, Paul, or John Hurl knows the photography, Susan Kinstead knows the archive stuff, so we're relying on a variety of people to pull this all together. Let's see, I'm also working with Cynthia Weeks-Smith, who takes care, she's sort of the overseer of the Weeks Brick House. And the tenant there is moving out by the end of this month, and when I spoke to her 3 or 4 days ago, the tenant wasn't quite moved out yet, and then she may have some cleanup work to do, and I volunteered to give her a hand at that. But between tenants would be a good time to have a tour. That's one of the many things that we'd like to do in the society, is occasionally have a tour of an appropriate place. So we will notify all the people that came to our meeting through email, and we'll notify the town through Karen. So, we'll have some limits, though. Cynthia seems to think that if it's more than 20, we might have to do it on a second day. She'd like to keep it like 10 people on an outside part of the tour, 10 people on the inside, and then a swap. That's sort of the guideline that she has in mind right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's hopefully going to happen in November sometime. We're also talking to Jerry Ann Bogus, who heads up the Black Heritage Trail of New Hampshire. She attended our meeting on the 12th, and I had a chance to talk with her afterwards very briefly. And we then said, wouldn't it be nice if we had a joint meeting? Because Greenland, as you probably already know, has a little bit of national exposure with the Ona Judge burying ground up there. We're thinking about doing something in February, but I haven't heard back from her yet, so I have an email on to her. And I guess the last thing is the National Endowment for Humanities that we put our proposal into in June 1st. Those awards, I just checked their website today, and they said the awards will be announced near the end of the year. That's all they said. So I don't have any news yet. I'm hoping by December 1st. So that's what's happening. Lots happening.
That's good. That's good. That's exciting. I think it's well thought out. I like what you're doing. I mentioned to my wife that I would be interested probably in volunteering also, and she said, "For what?" That's it. But I think it's exciting what you're doing, and well, you've got my support 100% of the way.
Right, and you
Get
can
your
take
wife
an
to
active-
volunteer.
Take an active role in our 300th, which will be coming up.
Right, and I
Yeah.
think this is an appropriate thing to do, combined with the hopeful new library. We have a lot on our plate.
And I took a little trek in with my partner in crime. We have a little side business of handyman work, but we went down and viewed the Marsh Tomb. I don't know if you know anything about that,
No, I don't.
but right off of Post Road, there is a tomb that is on
Portsmouth
somebody's
Portsmouth
personal.
Ave.
Portsmouth Ave.
A what?
Portsmouth Ave.
Portsmouth Ave.
It's awful, Portsmouth.
Portsmouth Avenue, right. And it's in on somebody's personal property, but this thing is huge. It's like 12 by 16 feet long. It's got bodies buried in there from the Marsh Estate, the old Marsh Estate, and I think it's something well worth looking into. And I'm trying to formulate something now as to maybe, I don't know if this could happen or not, that maybe the town could take it over, clean it up, but it's quite something to go in and view. So I'm excited about what you're doing, I think.
What we have a number of old cemeteries in this town. Where do volunteers stand in terms of, are they encouraged? How do you coordinate it?
Talk to David Gill,
He is,
the head of the cemeteries.
Okay,
Right.
He does,
I'm
he gets
trying to work
volunteers.
this together, I'm trying to pull a few things together, so,
He-
and I'm working with Karen,
Yeah.
I've mentioned to Karen, so, when it comes together, I think it'd be great if you guys got involved and, or maybe we guys, I'm gonna, because I just think it's an exciting community.
During the summertime, David puts together a group that we work on weekends, one weekend a month, repairing stones, cleaning
Cleaning them,
stones,
yeah.
writing them back up.
good to know. One of the other ideas we haven't taken any action on, is possibly doing what we call history hikes. Mostly aimed towards the students, but also the adults.
Sure.
But there are some concerns I need to talk to Chief Lauren about, because there's safety concerns.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not like Rye where we have a lot of little roads. We have an interstate going through here, we have Route 33
Yeah.
going through here.
Yeah.
I've got some safety concerns on that.
Sure.
Yeah, then you're private unincorporated with no insurance.
We have an umbrella policy.
Well, thank you, Leonard, for doing what you've done. I know you've done a lot of
Well,
work
I'll pass
prior
that
to
along,
this. And we
pass it along
appreciate
to
it.
Karen Mason as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the second item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from October 23rd. And I'll entertain a motion. Anybody has any?
Move we approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor? All right, motion passes. Okay, under old business, we have the Copley update.
Okay, I've got one change to the date for the meeting at Bethany Church. It was originally set for Thursday the 9th at 6 o'clock, and the Copley landfill group told the EPA that they were not available for that date. I think it's very important that we have the CLG there at the same time to answer questions from the public. So it has been moved, and there wasn't any other dates available that worked for DES and EPA at the Bethany Church. So Northampton offered the use of their town hall.
Okay.
So Northampton Town Hall, November 15th at 6:30 PM.
Okay. And if any of the board members can make it there,
Yep,
it's a good idea.
yep, oh, absolutely, and I'll remind people about it. And I have a conference call with the EPA on Wednesday morning with Jim Murphy from the EPA to go over their expectations for the meeting.
Mhm.
The kind of things they expect to hear, and so.
Okay, great.
15th is our convention.
Yes, I know. So it's gonna be a long day into the evening. It's the NHMA conference.
Hey, we're used to long days. Okay, structural engineering contract for the fire station.
Okay, yep, Paul?
This is the one Chip asked me to look into. I went through Underwood Engineering, and they're the ones that recommended this company. And if you look at the prices, I've never done any comparison to something like this, so I don't know how to compare it.
This is to have a structural engineer look at the roof itself for its integrity.
Okay. I did look at it briefly. What are the periods of time that they're looking to get the work done?
Well, Chip wanted for this budget to see if we had a,
Yes. Are they prepared to come down and give us a report in time to get that done?
he never said that. I've only spoken to him once. I had a little problem with emails. My phone was erasing them without my knowledge, but they were saved on the computer. Charlotte was able to help me out there, so they are being saved now. We just figured it out. And I just really printed this up Friday, and I have not spoken to him since. So I can take some of the blame, I guess.
Well, it's not even blame, it's just a practical thing.
He's not even gonna be back till Wednesday anyway, from our understanding.
Right, he's out of town right now.
So we won't get an answer till Wednesday on that.
Okay, so it's just that If we do it now and we can get it in time for budget, then that's great. But if we can't, then it really comes into our next fiscal year of work. Okay, because we wouldn't be able to put together a warrant article to do anything with this particular building for this budget year. And so at that point, we have a lot more time to deal with it. You know, because we really are gonna be another year out.
They estimated the work to be approximately $2,400, assuming that a load capacity wasn't required. And on the hourly basis, for the engineer to junior engineers, $200. So you're not expecting to take a long
I'm
time.
expecting less than a week they should have it
Yeah.
done.
Okay.
Because that sounds pretty,
The question is the structure been so deteriorated on the roof, are we gonna end up pulling that whole roof off and a new one on?
right. If you want a load capacity done, they expect it'll be about $6,800.
The guy that came out to look at the roof, he thinks to leave what he would like to do, that's why he recommended an engineer come out, was to keep the roof that's on it because it's an insulation. More than anything, it's a polyurethane type of spray. Is to actually put another roof on it with a pitch so we don't retain the snow and leave the old one as is. And that would be the easiest thing for them to do and the
They
cheapest.
just don't know if the structure can
They
handle it.
want to make sure the structure's capable of handling a second roof.
Okay.
And that's where I'm coming from too. is
I think it's a good question. The only question I have is, if we are able to get it in for this particular budget season, fine. If not, then it's part of a whole year's project.
You know, I think the only question I have is, you know, it's brought up that there's, you know, a problem with the roof itself. Let's just say we get 18 inches of snow or 24 inches of snow. Is that roof, does it pose a safety problem right now?
Well, they've had to come up and go up there and shovel it because it's almost a flat roof. And the problem is that they're walking on it and using tools, which is why it's starting to leak.
Yeah.
It's not a roof you should be up on. And according to, when I spoke to Mr. Rugg about it, to find out what it was actually made of, he happened to tell me that it's supposed to be inspected every 5 years and sprayed again. So, I don't think we've ever done that.
And was this the original roof, so it dates back to what, about 1980?
It's,
1980, the steel's the original roof, it was pretty tough shape then. When the guys were up there spraying it, they were checking it out and made sure they weren't gonna go through it. So that's why before we go any further with the building, we gotta find out if that roof's gonna take it.
Okay, so this thing is an afterthought. This was not part of the original roof.
No, it was a.
Do you remember when this one was put on?
About 5 years after it was built.
Okay, so 85, 86, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this in and of itself is 35 years old, right?
yes.
Yeah. So it's done. So there's no question that a new roof is required. The only thing is the method.
Right.
Okay. Well, are we going to have an estimate for a new roof for budget? Again,
The company,
I completely agree
Right.
it needs to be done.
Well, the company
budget.
I asked to give me an estimate for the roofs. I've actually got estimates made up, waiting on which way they have to go with this structural engineer.
What's our worst number? Do we know?
I haven't asked, he's waiting to hear back from me on this.
Just for budgeting purposes, I'd like to know the worst number, just so we can get that started for discussion.
All right.
We can basically come up with that, because the worst number would be peeling back the old roof and putting insulated panels back on it. That'd be the least we'd have to do with that whole thing.
What I'll do is I'll ask him for 2 sets of numbers and,
And the reason I'm saying that is because the budget committee starts with us at the end of November.
Yeah.
And so we need to give them some idea of this is a project we're looking at, and the worst case scenario is this.
right.
We're gonna keep working on it, see if we can knock it down, but this is our worst, and then we'll have to figure out how to pay for it.
Right, and if you can explain to me what the worst case actually is, I can prepare a bid document that we can put out.
what I'll do is I'll call him tomorrow.
I need like measurements.
Worst case is gonna be,
Well,
we have to increase the pitch. the insulation is gone in the building because it gets soaked every time it leaks, it's gone, so I was actually talking with an engineer I know, and he suggested insulated roofing panels seems to work the best.
You talking like the insulation sandwiched between two pieces of wood?
No, it's actually metal. It's a metal roof. It's not corrugated. He says stay away from the corrugated because it's screwed down. The gaskets leak within 5 to 10 years, so you're gonna be back on the roof sealing it again. But that's the question right now. Do we have to change that pitch? Because the insulation will hold the snow.
Okay.
And that's why this guy wanted to put a second roof
Yeah,
on
exactly.
with a pitch and have seamless, the no screws, the ones that clamp down.
Yep, we're
And
on
that-
the same, we're on the same.
Yeah,
level.
and that way the snow slides off and there's no buildup at all.
Okay, so, put together some numbers for the budget committee, so that's
All right.
the worst case scenario, and we can,
The idea being, you gotta start the budget committee off by the end of November with the worst case numbers. And you have about a month, to build it in, about a month.
Yeah,
By the end of December, you're in big trouble.
right, because I think the first week in January is the public hearing for warrant articles.
Right.
So that's dropped dead.
I'll call him tomorrow.
And so essentially, they've got 60 days to get you the answer, whatever the answer
Yep.
is.
I'd like to make a motion then. Move to approve the contract of structural engineering services for the fire station roof from Tierney and Associates, PC not to exceed $8,500.
try to have a second?
The second, just minor discussion.
Go ahead.
On the condition that we can get an answer back within our budgetary timeframe.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay,
Right, so if you
that's
can't do it
conditional.
in that timeframe,
And then it-
and so you should, I would say, ask him that he has to have the report back to you within 30 days.
Yep.
and Paul, if you can't do it, maybe you can find somebody who could do it.
All right. Yeah, the reason why I contacted him, it was through Underwood recommended him,
That's all
so.
right, yeah.
And that's fine, but you can understand from the budgetary
Yeah.
calendar, that if we can't get it by around the 1st of December, then forget
You
it.
get another year.
Yeah, that's fine, and I'll explain that to him when I speak to him.
Actually, the roof is the highest priority. The siding we can take a look at later for next year's,
Yeah.
the following year's budget. We just want to clean that up.
Okay, I have a motion amended.
Yep.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, so we need to have, let me see who signs this.
Okay, under other old business, I'd just like to bring up, I think we need to have a public hearing for the acceptance of bollards. Bollard donation.
Can't hear you,
So we
so we
put that
can.
on for the next agenda.
Mhm.
Okay.
Other old business. Could I find out, what's the update on Great Bay Drive West
We're gonna find out Wednesday.
Wednesday?
We have a meeting with the engineer for the next advancement of the drawings for Willowbrook and Great Bay Drive West. At this point, on Great Bay Drive West, we're waiting for one more temporary easement. And the last I talked to the homeowners to follow up on it, property owners, and they were having their attorney take a look at it. Willowbrook, all the easements are in.
Okay.
And as we've said, the king tide is going to be on November 5th.
That'll be the worst, that'll be our
Well, it was pretty high last night.
marker.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is, we should do our best to document the existing conditions out there on the day of the king tide.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Paul, here's this contract all signed. Just get me a copy of it for tomorrow, and you can pass that along to the contractor.
Okay, next item, I'd just like to kind of update us on the security cameras.
I have not heard back from Chief Laurent or Chief Cresta. The two of them were working on reviewing the proposals we got from the three companies, as well as the policy.
Okay, I will bump them on that. I'll just give them a little nudge, see where they stand on that. Does anybody else have any other old business? No. All right, new business, review of town administrator's report. Karen, if you
There's
could
actually
just-
two of them because I did an extra one.
You what?
There's two because I had done an extra one last week when I,
Oh, okay, yeah. Can you just elaborate a little bit on the Lamprey Regional Cooperative?
yep, that is Greenland's version of Coakley. The Lamprey Regional Cooperative is landfill that's located in Somersworth. Greenland at the time brought our waste through UNH, the incinerator. The ash was dumped in Somersworth at the ash dump. That also was it was closed. It is not a Superfund site. It was a lined landfill. So it is capped. Greenland pays an annual amount based on the budget for maintenance, testing, and so each representative that brought percentages to Lamprey get charged based on it. So at the budget meeting that we had last week in Stratham, the operation management of the landfill site, budget stayed the same, our assessment stays the same, a little over $3,000. Testing continues, testing still remains fine. They are talking that at some point they are going to need to up the maintenance amount for replacement of some of the controls. There's like a house, not a house, but it's like a brick building that has the controls in it that all the test results from the monitoring wells pull in. And Mr. Moriarty, who's the representative from Madbury, was saying that there are some issues with some of the testing equipment that are going to need to be replaced.
Okay. Does anybody have any of the newer selectmen have any questions on that? No. Okay. Any other questions on the town administrator's report? Okay, let's move on to elderly deferrals.
And these are the elderly deferrals for residents, and there's a bunch of pages for you to sign. That there's 4 residents this year that have applied for elderly deferrals. They are not new applicants, they're all continuing applicants. All of their amounts still continue to be lower than the 80% requirement of loan to value. This lien gets recorded at the registry. I'll take all these pages apart for you. Gets recorded at the registry. Becomes a lien against the property at a much reduced interest rate than had they not paid the taxes. It's a program put in place by the state which allows the elderly or the disabled to remain in their homes.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
Sort of like a reverse mortgage for the tax amount. But it's only 6% interest rather than 18%. And I mean, it's been very popular. We've never had an elderly deferral go unpaid. The selectmen have on one occasion since I've been here waived some of the interest accrued on an elderly. That when the property sold, it sold for less because of the interest.
We had to be creative.
Yes, because it was a family member inheriting the property and yeah.
There were many, many issues,
Yes,
and we had to make it work.
and we did.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the elderly deferrals as presented.
Second.
Have a motion, a second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We did offer this program to the resident that we met with that was facing a tax deed, and we have not received the application back.
Okay.
We were gonna rattle that cage.
I tried,
They are required to maintain insurance, correct? on their
yes, they
property.
are. And if there is a mortgage, the mortgage company also has to sign off. But on these 4 cases, there are no mortgages.
Okay. Investment and fund policy review.
Okay, these are the policies that are required to be approved, reviewed and approved by the selectmen on an annual basis. The annual investment policy is not the investment for the trustees of the trust fund. It is only for the treasurer. And it's based on the statutory guidelines. Yes, sir.
Just a correction, oh, you may have it too. The address is incorrect.
Yeah, address. You said you were gonna change it the last time too.
Town Square.
I'm looking, I go, what's the matter with that address? And it was all.
Karen, at what percent of total appropriations are we at now?
For our fund balance?
Yeah.
We are at 12, the amount retained is 12.23%. The maximum recommended is 17, the minimum is 5%, we're at 12.23.
Okay.
So our current amount retained after we use the 80,500 is 1.769336. The average recommended at 10% is 1,447,000.
And
All right.
most communities try to stay in the 8 to 10 range.
Yep, 8% would be 1.1 million.
So this is sort of like a savings account that the town has, and it puts us in good standing, you know, the more money we have, but we can't go too
The
much.
maximum
over
is
that,
2.4 for us.
Exactly, so, you know.
It
the
keeps
town
our
is
cash
financially-
flow, particularly our cash flow, because we're semi-annual tax payments. We have a very large payment to pay to the school in June for the tuition.
Mhm.
And our tax bills are just going out and coming in right there. And so this gives us a cash flow so that we're able to make that payment without borrowing in anticipation of taxes. Next year might be a little bit funky, and I'm hoping that we don't have to borrow, but with our fund balance, I've calculated that we should be okay, is that the county is going to a fiscal year payment. So we're going to pay a year and a half next year. I know, you tried. So next year's going to be a little funky. What I'm hoping we can do is then when we get, and that's what they've said, they're like, oh, don't panic, you can appropriate just the 1 year amount and then encumber from the prior year. And
Thanks a lot, guys, but no thanks.
I know, because they're like, oh, it's not a problem. It'll help us. We don't have to borrow in anticipation of taxes anymore. And I'm like, right, but now all the towns and cities will have to.
That's not their problem.
That's not their property. I know. Representative Malloy went to bat for me, and yes.
How bad was the vote?
It looks like
The
that.
county had smooth talkers.
Yeah, the counties were really in line on this thing. I
Right.
honestly
Oh.
don't remember, but it didn't seem like we were gonna prevail at all.
No.
We were even close, I think.
No, because their advantage was that they were basing a lot of it on their Medicaid reimbursement
Yeah.
payments. And so to keep the nursing home running and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
So millions would have died if we
So we gotta move this along. Want to move that the annual investment, that we move to approve the annual investment policy with the one change.
The address
Investment
change.
interest in the paragraph, investment instruments, the address changed to 11 Town Square. I read that 3 times. It didn't dawn on me what was wrong with it, so. The other thing is I move we approve the annual fund balance policy.
So I have 2 motions.
Second vote.
Second vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Karen,
Thank you, you feel stupid.
Thank you, Jim, for
I think
moving
we
these
should
right
also
along.
do an annual review of our 31-106 indemnifications. Oh, you haven't heard that one? Good. 31-106 and 107.
106 indemnification.
Right, because unless the selectmen vote to indemnify other town officials, okay, that basically we cover
Right.
while they're in the course of their duties, then indemnification doesn't happen. Take a look at the statute.
Even though we buy the blanket bond,
It isn't about insurance, it's about indemnification. Okay?
Is this something fairly new?
No, you'll find it in.
But nobody's ever done it, really?
Oh,
Or-
we have done it. You and I have done it a couple of times.
Don't we used to do that at town meeting, we actually have a vote on it?
No.
That doesn't sound at all familiar.
No.
Yep.
You'll find it in Knowing the Territory.
Okay, 31106. I will do that, that'll be on the agenda for next time.
Okay.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions under the for your information section? Is there any other new business anybody would like to bring up?
Can you pass that down, just for Vaughn to sign this one, and the other one you can't sign because the wrong address is on the signature page. But I'll catch it. I'm glad you caught it. Yeah.
No, I'm not glad it took 3 readings to figure out that there something was wrong, but I couldn't figure out what it was.
You know what doesn't show up in GPS is Town Square.
Not yet, I know.
Okay, Karen, when is the next meeting here?
November 13th? November 13th.
Just so you know.
I'd like to encourage folks to come to the planning board on Thursday night to hear the library's presentation.
Yeah, and the budget committee is been invited as a whole as well.
Time is what, Thursday? I'm not again.
Yes.
Yes.
You're gonna make that one, because I can't, oh, you can't make it either.
Meeting is here.
Chester, you're gonna make that, right?
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay, great.
We're inviting all these people, or is it?
Jim and I both have meetings.
Yeah, right here it's,
That's gonna go.
Where is it?
right here. And this will be the library trustees presenting to the planning board with their idea of the library project.
How many members on the planning board?
Oh, please. There are supposed to be 7, we'll see how many appear.
Okay, so between that and the budget committee, you got 18.
Right, the budget committee will be in the audience, the library trustees will do their presentation. Planning board will be up here, we should be just fine with attendance averages.
All right,
Yeah.
Which has been a challenge of late.
manifests.
Yeah, it's an easy meeting.
I
It's
hereby
gonna be
approve
trick or
and
treat.
attach manifest of unpaid bills detailed as of November 2nd, 2017 in the amount of
There's-
$479,000. Oops, that's the last one, that's what it is.
Which
School
school is
payment.
350.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I just thought there was something in there that was,
It should have a 0. It's
there's
either
something missing, yeah.
it's either 096 or 90.
And my glasses.
It'll 479, 09640.
Can you find out, I asked Sharon Huzzy when the fields are completely done.
I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I move we approve payroll number 22, October 16th, 2017 through and including October 29th, 2017, amount excluding payroll liabilities of $57,928.50.
Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I move we approve payroll number 22A, pay date November 1st, period January 1st, 2017 through and including October 27th, 2017. Amount excluding payroll liabilities, $1,000.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move we approve the attached manifest of unpaid bills detail as of November 2nd, 2017, in the amount of $149.95. This is from the account payable to the police special revenue fund. By them gloves.
I have a second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Should be one more. Yeah.
Okay, does anybody
Yeah,
have
there's one
anything?
more.
One more.
One more, because I knew there was a
Jim's
fire
on a roll.
inspection.
I move we approve the attached manifest of unpaid bills detail as of November 2nd, 2017, in the amount of $139.94. This is from accounts payable, fire and safety revolving fund.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. Any other business to come before this honorable court?
Wow.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion adjourned. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
I mean, we could have short